In this video clip, we're going to be taking a look at how to create a Brian May style sound for the song Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. To start off with, I need to select my amp model. So for this example, we're going to be using the Class A 30TB for top boost. I'm going to be changing this microphone over here to a 57 off axis, but I'm going to keep the cabinet modeling the same. Take a listen, hear how this sounds. Right now I'm using a solid body guitar with a single coil pickup in the bridge. Definitely sounds like a Class A amp, but I do want to increase a few things here. I'm going to bring up the drive, the bass, and the cut up to 100%. Bring that treble up to 75, presence around 55. I'm going to drop my channel volume to around 40. And let's just take a listen and hear what this is going to sound like. One thing that Brian May did differently than what I'm doing here is instead of the solid body guitar with a single coil on the bridge, he was actually using a chambered guitar with a single coil on the bridge. So let's jump over to the mixer where we can change that out if we're going to be using a Variax guitar. So over under the mixer selection, I took a look through what the Variax is going to offer me out of the 29 different instruments, and there wasn't really anything that fit the bill. So what I did was I went into the HD workbench and created a Variax model with a chambered guitar with a single coil in the bridge, and I put that on custom 4 model here. So I'm going to select that, and now we'll take a listen and hear what that's going to sound like. So now I'm going to take a look at the effects and see what we can add over there. So for this first effect slot, I'm going to add a wah. So I'm going under effects type, I select wah, and I'm going to use chrome for my example here. Second selection I'm going to put in here is going to be an overdrive pedal. So I'm going to look under distortion, and for my selection here, I'm going to pick line 6 drive, and I'm going to change up the EQing just a little bit. I'm going to pull this drive back to around 70%. And let's take a listen to what it sounds like without the drive on. And let's take a listen to it with the drive. The next effect block here, I'm going to add in modulation. And I'm going to select the script phase. I'm going to drop the selection down to 0.6. And we'll take a listen to what it sounds like without the phaser. And here's with the phaser. The next thing I'm going to slot in here is going to be a noise gate. This is pretty high gain tone, so you might get some residual background noise even if you're using a Variax. So I'm going to select dynamic. Noise gate is the first thing that comes up, and I'm going to drop this decay and the threshold down to 0. And that's going to help control some of that background hiss that we might run into. Next, I'm going to throw in a volume pedal. So the next effect I'm going to pick here is going to be a smart harmony, which is going to be under pitch. And I go to the effects model smart harmony. Key I'm going to list as D sharp. It's going to be major, and I'm going to do a shift of a third above. And I'm going to change that mix to around 33%. And I'm also going to do a similar thing in the next effects slot, but here I'm going to pick mostly the same stuff, but I'm going to put a shift of a fifth, because at the very tail end of the song, there's going to be a little 3-part harmony thing that I want to be able to duplicate accurately. So I'm going to be able to access either of those when I want them. And for the last effect here, I'm going to select reverb. And for our setting here, I'm going to leave it on plate. I'm going to pull that decay to around 30. I'm going to put the tone at around 50. And the mix, I'm going to leave around 15%. Let's go over and take a look at the controllers and see what we're going to do as far as assignments. So going through the different assignments here, when we take a look at the model dropdown, the amp modeling, I don't need to be able to control that. I'm going to leave that on all the time. The wah pedal, I want that to be assigned to expression toe switch, but I want that to be on expression toe switch 2. And one thing that's interesting about the way Brian May typically performs, he does use a wah pedal, but he doesn't typically rock it back and forth the way we maybe have heard, like someone like Jimi Hendrix or Stevie Ray Vaughan or Jerry Cantrell do this. He typically would leave it in one position. So what we're going to do is we're just going to move the minimum and the maximum to roughly the same slot. When you engage that, it's not really going to sweep. It's just going to give you that one specific mid-range peak. Taking a look at the next models, line 6 drive, we're going to pretty much leave this on all the time, at least for this song. So we're just going to leave it and not assign it to anything. The script phase, let's put that on FS2. The noise gate, we're going to not assign that to anything just because it's going to be on all the time. The volume pedal I do want assigned to a foot switch expression toe, but I do want that on expression 1. The first smart harmony, which is the harmony of the third, I'm going to put that on FS1. And then the second smart harmony, I'm going to put on FS3, so that way I can access them separately if I need to. For the last effect, we're going to have that plate reverb, which is currently on FS4. So now let's take a listen and hear what some of these different foot switches are going to do for us here. I'm going to turn everything off to start with. So at this point we have just our straight dry tone, which is going to be the amp model, the overdrive, the noise gate, and the volume pedal active. Now let's say I want to hear what that reverb's going to sound like when I add that in there. So I'm just going to add that FS4 and take a listen there. Giving us that big room sound that we may need for certain things, especially in some of the little melodic passages he's going to use it for. Let's take a listen to what's going to happen if I kick on FS2, which is that script phase. Now let's turn that off and let's turn on that first harmony, which is the FS1, which is the harmony of the thirds. And here's what it's going to sound like with that harmony on there. Let's take a listen and hear what happens when I add the next harmony on. So looking at the screen, you're going to be able to see a direct link where you can download this tone and you can edit it for whatever your needs might be. Thanks for stopping by and have a great day.